Welcome to Coming Home to Yourself, the podcast for high achieving women ready to lead from within. I'm Jagoda, and here we dive into real conversations about confidence, clarity, and emotional freedom. Each week, I'll share honest stories, gentle insights, and soul deep shifts to help you reconnect with the woman beneath the roles. This is your space to slow down, breathe, and exhale, to stop performing strength and start living your truth, to remember who you are beneath it all. Let's begin. You say yes again. You take on the extra assignment. You agree to the weekend event. And inside you, something nods. You wonder, am I letting someone down? Am I betraying someone I promised to be? And when you finally say no to an extra task, an unreasonable demand, or an exhausting favor, do you instantly feel a cold, sinking feeling in your stomach? That's not just guilt, it feels like betrayal. This episode is for the woman who finds herself constantly running on empty because she's terrified of disappointing others. The woman who's always giving, and now she's wondering, what happens when I stop? We're talking about the guilt of no, the reason why setting a necessary boundary make us feel like we are letting down our team, our family, or even betraying who we were raised to be. Many of us were taught be helpful, be available, be kind, and always say yes. And there's nothing wrong with that until our yeses came at the cost of our own voice, our own needs. There's nothing wrong with being of service. But what happens when you are always the one giving, always taking on assignments, always saying yes, and you have no time to care for yourself? Because that level of overgiving doesn't make you a saint. It makes you a liability to yourself. It leads you to exhaustion, poor health, and the quiet erosion of your energy. Women often feel guilty when saying no because they fear rejection or think they'll be seen as unkind. But this drains your energy. It shapes your health. It whispers that your value depends on your utility. And this guilt isn't proof that you're doing something wrong. It's proof that you've been doing too much for far too long. And what I want to ask you is, in what area of your life do you constantly sacrifice your inner peace to maintain it all on the outside? The reason why saying no feels like betrayal is simple. We've learned that our worth and our safety were conditional upon our agreeability. And this pattern often starts early. We learn that being the good girl, the agreeable daughter, the helpful sister, the one who never complains, earned us the love, praise, or attention we needed. Saying yes became our default mechanism for securing worthiness and connection. I remember clearly this in my own younger life. I loved more. I was not able to say no in more cases, and I put up with behavior in relationships that were not good for me. I also wanted to do it all by myself, thinking that getting myself exhausted came with some kind of a golden medal. But it doesn't. All it does is drain your vital energy. And this cycle is especially hard in mother roles. Doing everything for the kids, giving them the last bits of your energy, of resources, figuratively speaking, the last money for their care, and forgetting yourself. You've probably heard this metaphor before, and it truly makes sense when you've lived on empty, that you must put yourself first on the oxygen mask. Just think about it. The flight attendant doesn't say, help your neighbor first. It's strict logistic. If you pass out, you cannot help anyone. You cannot pour from an empty cup, right? And that cup is your health, your clarity, and your self trust. If this is landing for you, hit that subscribe button so we can keep having these conversations together. And if Salma's face came to mind while you were listening, send it her way. She might need it more than you know. And when you operate from empty, you're not giving your best. You're not giving your you're just giving your resentful leftovers. And no one truly benefits from your resentment. When you feel guilt after setting a boundary, your thinking mind is shouting, I'm selfish. I'm letting them down. I might lose their love. So let's look at what's really happening inside your mind when guilt shows up. What is really happening behind that thought? 'Cause when guilt arises, it's not a signal to fix more things outside. It's a sign to look within. The key to tap into the true rest lies in understanding how our mind works. Because the problem isn't in your body, it's in your mind reaction to stillness. The core issue is in the relationship between your thoughts and your deeper self. And the feeling of guilt is caused by a rapid flow of thoughts, telling you a story about what should be and what you should be doing. And the thought says, a good wife, mother, leader always says yes. A good wife, mother, leader always do things for others. A good wife, mother, leader always work her butt off till she's exhausted and then she earns the rest. And when you believe these stories, you contract. You think you're betraying them, but in reality, you're betraying yourself by not honoring your truth and worth. The discomfort you feel when you slow down is simply the friction of your conditioned thoughts bumping up against this natural state of calm. And when everything is fine, your mind is supposed to be quiet. And the moment you notice that feeling of restlessness, that low hum, is that's your awareness working perfectly. And this awareness is the part of you that says, I'm thinking I have to do more. And that I is the being you, not doing you. And when you rest into that awareness, you begin to relax, not just for a minute, but in that. So when guilt floats in after saying no, it's not your truth, it's your thought. And the mind, the deeper intelligence of life, already knows you're safe and worthy. And then the thought says you're selfish. But consciousness, the awareness within you, lets you see that thought instead of becoming it. That's the moment you can breathe and choose again. Because when you feel the pull to say yes again, just simply notice what story is playing and what is the part of me that is being asked to betray, and does that part deserve to be betrayed? The discomfort you feel when you set a boundary is not the pain of failure. It's the friction of a habit changing. You're experiencing the fear of disappointing your old self, the self who believed the thought that constant service was the price of admission. And the awareness that you have a choice, that you can say no and still be a good person, is the revolution. Guilt isn't a sign to shrink, it's a sign that you're growing beyond the rules that kept you small. And setting a boundary is not an act of betrayal, it is an act of self preservation and generosity. You're protecting your capacity so you can truly show up for what matters. And you realize your worth is not earned by your sacrifice, it's inherent and unconditional. And that is the moment when the thought story about earned worth begins to lose its power. And this requires two revolutionary actions. And the first one is courage to ask. And the next one is the discipline to protect. And let's look first into the courage to ask for help. Let me give you an example. For years, I wanted to do it all by myself, thinking exhaustion made me valuable. And I was so wrong doing this. A lot of people are actually having this problem of asking for help, because they think that makes them look weak, but it doesn't. Asking for help actually deserves its own conversation, but shortly, here's what I've learned. People, when asked sincerely, would gladly help you, and they really do. And I had to learn to ask for help and to say no, because asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom, self respect, and trust in your community. And regarding discipline to protect energy, I can say today I'm so much more careful where I put my energy, who I spend it with. And this might sound harsh, but it's true. You have to stop wasting your energy on the wrong things and the wrong people. You must be the primary protector of your peace. So let's pause for a moment. If you're walking, slow down. If you're sitting, take a deep breath. Now ask yourself, who taught me that saying no meant I'm selfish? What is the story behind? Or the sentence you were told so many times? What is the heavy, exhausting task you are doing right now out of obligation that you could delegate or drop entirely? And imagine yourself 1 year from now, rested and thriving. What is the one boundary that future self would thank you for setting today? Your goal this week is not perfection, it's boundary setting. It is consistency in self respect. Saying no is the ultimate act of self care because it affirms that you are worthy of protection. You're allowed to walk away from what no longer feels fair. And you're safe to protect your time and energy. Remember, every time you honor your no, you're saying a deeper yes to yourself. Until the next time, honor your no.
Thanks for listening to Coming Home to Yourself. If this episode spoke to you, take a moment to subscribe and share it with one woman who needs it. And if you're ready to go deeper, come find me on Instagram or Facebook, because this isn't just a podcast, it's a return to your body, to your breath, to your heart, to your own voice. Your story matters. You matter. See you next time.